It was, we'd raised $6 million from Sequoia and unfortunately last minute they tranched it in two parts. When the Lehman crisis took place, right? So they kind of backed out and said, hey, we can't give the other 3 mil. Unfortunately, when they reneged on the agreement. So I think it was a decision of, hey, do we want to go out and take them to court or just get on with business? But I realized we'll just get on with business. And everybody knew nobody would take a VC to court. And the inability of the entrepreneur to see this, that the investor can back off at the very last minute. So if you criticize my business right now, my response would be very different.
Welcome to UnPlugged with Sinha show. Today I'm going to talk to a very interesting founder. They launched in 2006. I think pretty much people in Bangalore and Bombay know about them, which is Printo. The founder Manish Sharma, they lost the startup to their investors, a lot of bad decisions. They were almost on the verge of getting acquired. That didn't happen. So basically a lot of shit stories. Given what we are seeing currently with say companies like Dunzo, there is a lot of interesting story to be told. So first of all, Manish, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, man.
You were probably the OGs of the so-called D2C space. I mean, it was not even considered funky, or sexy as it is now, right?
Is it? Oh, good. I'm going to ask you a bit about that, man. बाकी कोई तो समझता नहीं है, but आप हमें sexy बुलाओ, बहुत बड़ी बात है. हाँ.
You started in 2006, and you were I think the first store started in Koramangala, right?
Yes. Just as a backdrop, I'm a software guy, and I came back to India saying that ये services नहीं करना है, कुछ product बनाना है, and quickly realized that it's going to be tougher than I thought, right? I was trying to make a out-of-the-box ERP for SMBs. I thought I understood that space well, right? My wife, Lalana, who was my co-founder, she used to work with Xerox, so I used to in UK as well as in India. So I had an inside track to that, right? क्या चल रहा है क्या नहीं? I said, and I had some really poor customer experience in Bombay while trying to get a business card printed. तो खुंदक में कंपनी शुरू करी.
सही है.
ये कभी मत करिएगा. And we literally packed. We had an old Opel Astra. It was a swing, hatchback car. Very few of them in India, which we got borrowed from our dad. Put our 2 suitcases in it, gadda, everything. Drove down to Bangalore and started looking for a shop. And the first shop we got was Koramangala, right? We looked at a couple of others, and we got the Koramangala shop, which is yet there today. It's it used to be our biggest store. Now HSR is bigger than Koramangala in many ways. Yeah, so that's how we started off. Literally set up shop, and I remember, our office and our home was the same in Jaksandra in Koramangala, right? And we used to do all our interviews in Cafe Coffee Day. We said, "यहाँ तो Bangalore में Cafe Coffee Day." In Bombay, if you got to get somebody for an interview, was impossible, right? You had to go to a Darshini, which used to be very noisy, not apt for an interview. So those were the few of the days, and then there were, I think, we were among the 20 things we were wrong about, 2-3 things we were right about. That people did need some better service in print, and वहीं से journey शुरू हुई.
I think the whole notion कि people needed a very professional service which is predictable and you can go there, get it done.
Right.
Even that time it was difficult, and even now it's I mean because of Printo and similar EA, so that predictability is there, that I can get it done, right? So I think that's the most amazing thing.
Yeah. I think what's changed, if I may, is in that the search cost remains a high search cost, right? Because everybody does it. What's changed for us is we used to do 20% print, 100% print on paper. Today we do 20% print on paper. So brand merch, apparel, that anything you need, a small business needs to create and grow a brand. That has changed from a customer perspective. So we've changed and we've evolved, right? And so brand merch, corporate gifting, that everything personalized, customized, of course, but that's become also a large part of our business besides the regular print and stationery and posters.
Interesting. And then you guys started and then raised money. So I remember that was one of the decently large fundraise around what 2007, 8, 9,
Yeah.
around that time
Yeah.
frame, right?
Yeah. It was I think we raised about $6 million. It was a decently large fundraise on paper. क्योंकि वो पेपर पे ही रह गया, वो पैसे दिखे ही नहीं हमें, right? So थोड़े दिखे, थोड़े मिले, right? But yeah, it was we'd raised $6 million from Sequoia, and unfortunately last minute they tranched it in 2 parts. Right, so we said it's okay. It was based on 12 months and performance of a certain store, which we were very sure about, and all that happened. But when the Lehman crisis took place, right? So they kind of backed out and said, "Hey, we can't give the other 3 mil." They gave 3 mil, and so we were already on the horse, conquering worlds, spending shitloads of money, doing all the silly stuff, right? And then we had to pull back when this unfortunately when they reneged on the agreement. So I think it was a decision of, hey, do we want to go out and take them to court, or just get on with business? But I realized we'll just get on with business. It had happened to lots of entrepreneurs. Lots of signed contracts had been reneged, and everybody knew nobody will take a VC to court. We got lucky at the time also because we were, this was a space where very little was happening, right? And after that, a lot of activity did happen in that space. So and there was retail seemed to be a craze. That's why guys like Sequoia also got interested. Raising, blowing it up, going down in the depths, then figuring out ऐसे तो business करना ही नहीं चाहिए था, right? And then figuring out कि बस ये तो हमें profitably करना है, and getting back to the profitable path. So since then we've just grown through internal accruals, right? And we were maybe when we bought out Sequoia, we must have been 6-7 crores, and today overall we have a little more than 130 crores, and most of the growth has come through internal accruals. We've had some small couple of $1 million fundraisers, but most of the growth came through internal accruals.
I think you had to take a personal loan to buy back all the stocks, right? So walk us through that journey of, because that to me is, I mean, just from a context point of view, if you look at what's happening with Dunzo right now, they shut down, raised so much of money. It's similar story. So walk us through some of those learnings, and what is it that you would advise to founders out there?
See, Ashish, there's a lot of advice, but it's very difficult to implement, right? I think I also received that advice before raising money, after I raised money, but I couldn't implement the advice. For example, there are 2 aspects to it. One advice you get is, hey, these term sheets are really, one-way streets, only one-sided. And while that's true, but we got to recognize that we're taking high risk capital. So you have to sign up for that, right? So that's one set of advice, and you can't do anything about negotiating around a term sheet at a time when you're trying to raise money, right? So, and at an early stage. The second one is about see to it that you can get some money for yourself, right? So in times like these, you can put it back. And then you can get money for yourself in terms of, either paying yourself a higher salary, a bunch of other stuff. Now, this advice makes sense, and a few people have done it by doing a secondary whenever available, right? We can't do it early stage. Secondly, it doesn't make sense for the business, right? As an entrepreneur, you're saying, I remember Sequoia telling me when I said, hey, why do you have this liq pref, and the liquidation pref of 2x? When I'm not going to get anything, but आपको मेरा तो opportunity cost क्या, आपको कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, आपको सब कुछ मिलेगा, मुझे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा in case it happens. So they said, why don't you increase your salary? To at that time 30 lakhs. I was paying myself 10,000 rupees, and my partner Lalna was paying herself 25,000 rupees. I said, really? And is this how this works? So this is the other extreme. There are venture capitalists who will say, don't give the entrepreneur good salary, which is the other extreme. But I'm saying on this extreme, I'm trying to think what could I have done better. I think what I could have done better was really understand my business much better and realize that I don't need this kind of capital.
Yeah. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I might need venture capital, but not this kind which says, here's $6 million. Now go and open 30 stores in 3 months.
Yeah.
That came to me as a shock, and I was too young to even realize. I thought maybe that's the way we do business. These guys are much smarter, right? And as entrepreneurs, you're doubting.
Yes.
You're acting confident, and you're full of doubts, right? And you think that everybody's smarter than you, right? You're going to be caught out very soon.
And there is a belief system, right? So you go with a certain belief when you start, but when you meet a lot of smarter people, then you start questioning your own belief. यार ये मेरे को seriously आता है क्या?
Yeah. मैं यार रामराव आदिक इंस्टीट्यूट टेक्नोलॉजी में गया था, वहाँ से कंप्यूटर इंजीनियरिंग करी. बाकी सब जो बंदे मेरे सामने बैठते थे, IIT के बाद IIM में भी स्पेसिफिक IIM. हाँ.
Oh, you went to Oxford.
I went to Oxford यार. फिर वो मैं ऑक्सफोर्ड दारू पीने गया था 1 साल. I was living in UK and I said I need a break for 1 year, and where can I go? Right? And I actually went to Cambridge to study. I applied to Cambridge to study economics. I thought 1 साल economics पढ़ेंगे, go to the nice pubs, bars, and I loved the UK life after working there for some time. And I got in there. Somebody said, hey, why don't you apply for the MBA program in Oxford, because same economics, same सब है. ऐसे चलो करते हैं. मिल गया, and that's it, right? And but all these names are significantly overrated. I'm not. I had an amazing set of friends in Oxford, right? And that's what I value. I think the whole academics around all these places, and these are thappe hai na, they're so overrated, and they're just one more step in privilege that we've got very early in life.
Entitlement.
Yes.
The way I also look at it is that when I see when you're in a room where everybody seems to be smarter than you, and seems to is the right keyword here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then how do you even realize कि अरे यार मेरे को ये सही करना है, नहीं करना है? Is my assumption, is it all right?
I feel our experience actually makes us more and more skilled players, but also makes us more, beyond a certain age, makes us more doubtful players, right? So
cynical, skeptical.
Yes. And you start thinking a little, you start doubting certain things, and if you don't doubt it, you start delaying certain decisions. As I told my friend, the burden of being wise, right, is that you keep doubting. And this ball, is it going to leave or is it going to come in? He held the ball in such a way and pounced, and he gave me 3 outgoing balls. So this one, I'm sure is going to come in. While if you're a fresh Virat Kohli who's coming to bat, he doesn't care, man. He's going to go and hit the ball. He thinks it's going to come in, just go and hit it, right? And he gets it out. He gets it wrong every time. It's okay. He goes in and moves on. But when you're older, I think these mistakes keep you back. So linking into your question, which was, I'm trying to remember your question, which was how do you deal with the imposter syndrome? It's the same way we deal with a lot of this, right? We kind of go ahead and the 2 things you do the standard fake it till you make it. And when I say that, I don't mean it in any derogatory way or any other way, except that you just go ahead and do it, right? Because you believe it. So you may not be 100% convinced yourself, but you have to debate it out and say, okay, this is it, right? I think there is an element though of genuine intellectual curiosity, right? Which I think I developed that in business much later in my life, but I was fairly curious about other things in life. So I wish if I developed it earlier, I would have been more receptive. When you don't develop it early enough in business, you're not very receptive.
How do you define that intellectual curiosity when it comes to your business?
So if you criticize my business right now, my response would be very different from. So let's say if you say, "Yaar, isme market hi nahi hai," So that's a typical one that I remember one of my investors, one of her first things she said, "Who wants business cards?" Right, and this was like 16 years ago. Today, she tells me that I can understand that, But who wants business? Abhi main kya samjhaun? Who wants business cards, right? But what I should have done was should have asked her, why don't you use business cards? And understood what her use case is, why does she feel so, and said, what if she is right?
Yeah.
Can I go and investigate? Right? And then go down that path, shut it out, okay, no, she's not right, come back. Being curious would have helped me, perhaps answer some of these questions and find pockets of growth much earlier.
Yes, I think that's something which I also faced in my own journey, where you start with a certain hypothesis, you believe so madly in that hypothesis, कि लगता है कि दुनिया सब बेवकूफ है.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then, if you had an open mind, then say कि हाँ, maybe, let's investigate, let's figure this out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. क्योंकि वो मार्केट आके थप्पड़ मारता है.
हाँ, जब market is always right.
Yeah, and when वो थप्पड़ मारता है, that time you feel okay, and what happens is you start tweaking other stuff. You say, maybe I've not got this right. Maybe my proposition is not right. Maybe my service is not yet at the same level. Maybe not enough people know about me.
And maybe the audience that I'm trying to reach out to is not the right. Yes. There's another audience which is exactly, right for this.
Yeah. And but there is this is not an easy question, right? Because there's always going to be a time when investors may ask you that, is there a big enough market? So you can either say, I don't know, but can you help me find it? And investor doesn't have the time to go and do that along with you, right? And in most cases, investors also don't know. And hence the herd mentality. Because once they find a big market, every entrepreneur, every investor is going there. Right? So I don't think markets are as clear as daylight. Right? If you see what Zomato started with, was a much smaller market. I'm not even talking about, I'm talking about in-house in-restaurant dining.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then got into a delivery market and then got into an Insta Mart kind of a market. Same thing with Dunzo. I think however it's gone, I really admire the way Kabir built that company.
So right now, there's a lot of D2C stuff happening in India, right? A lot of D2C startups. Retail, सब लोग offline जा रहे हैं. What's your take on that? I mean, you were like offline as an avatar itself. What would be your real advice to some of these founders who are being told by their investors and in general by the market that go omni channel, एक airport में डाल दो, एक यहाँ डाल दो, कोरमंगला में, एक Delhi में, right? So what's your take on this kind of expansion?
Yeah, let's start with basics, and maybe much abused word, first principles, right? On ये कैसे करना चाहिए, rather than go it with a trend, right? Let me look at Printo, which is something I know better than talking about other businesses. One of the biggest reasons we are offline is because our customer expects two things. One is tangibility, but most importantly expects turnaround time. Right? So I think the first thing I would do is look at that, right, and say, is this something where turnaround time is pretty important for us. Secondly, I would so that's from a Printo perspective. But Printo also had experience going online, right? And about 20% of our business today comes online.
Okay.
And it goes to stores, and at the same time goes directly to our website. And we tried to grow online significantly, and we failed miserably. I think when we went online, we realized that we face certain natural barriers, right? So it's very clear that the online audience in India is restricted to a certain number of people, right? And not all of them need print products at this level. So what you're trying to do is you're basically trying to sell more and more products. Now coming to the rest of the market, which is non-print, you're trying to sell more and more products to the same creamy layer of India. And you're changing tack. Now the latest to quick commerce, right? Which I've been using quick commerce like an addict, right? Because abhi sab kuch usi se aata hai, right? Secret Santa का gift भी वहीं से आता है, right? And so I think I would go down to unit economics. I do feel retail unit economics work out very well. Look at it; it gives you much more real, unit economics. And if you've cracked online, then you want to go to retail, super. But if you've not cracked online and you want to start another chapter while trying to, so you want you want to open battlefronts on two fronts.
Yeah. So
And the reason is that because I'm not winning on the first front,
Yeah.
let me open the second battlefront.
So at least have product market fit in one channel, right? And or unit economics fit in one
Exactly,
channel,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
then expand
Yeah,
to another.
yeah.
So you're almost on the verge of getting acquired by RMX and then built, right? So, matlab, what went through some of those deals, and what are some of those learnings that you had?
Yeah, learnings तो यही है जब तक पैसा बैंक में नहीं आया ना
तब कुछ
कुछ
पार्टी नहीं
होगा।
करने का।
पार्टी तो करी नहीं थी लेकिन I remember that one of the deals, especially with Built, we had a forget term sheet, we had a shareholders agreement
Oh shit.
done, dusted, signed from our side, gone there, had to be signed by them, and next day the sign and the transfer would take place at the same day.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's and a lot of entrepreneurs have gone through this. I know that, and I just feel for them. It's bloody emotionally draining, and I think if there's one thing that's significantly unfair about the investment cycle, it's not only unfair. I feel it's unethical about the investment cycle, is the ability of the investor, whoever it might be. I'm not just talking about VCs, but and the inability of the entrepreneur to see this, that the investor can back off at the very last minute. And I know that there are some instruments that one uses to say कि बस ये deal नहीं हुई तो आप मुझे 1 crore दोगे,
Yeah.
types, right? And entrepreneur's ability to call on those instruments is not is not really as
Yeah, I mean, if
As practical, yeah.
yeah, and a VC founder relationship is also based on long-term trust, and
Yeah.
so if you have to make these kind of agreements beforehand,
Yeah.
it clearly means that something is off, right?
yes, yeah.
So you have been involved in you were involved in Aam Aadmi Party. So I mean that is something which I was completely unaware of. So would love to know what's your take on what's happening. What were you doing with Aam Aadmi Party?
Very few people know this, that I actually came back to India to say that we'll join the government. Right? And my idea of joining government was not necessarily politics. I was fairly political in my college and university, right? So I was,
Where are you from?
From Bombay, and I came from a college called Ramra, the Institute of Technology, DY Patil. College or university में सब कुछ होता है यार. रिश्वतखोरी, मारामारी, सब कुछ, राइट? सो लकीली बिहार के लेवल का नहीं था, राइट? लेकिन मेरे काफी बिहारी दोस्त थे. लकीली दे वर ऑन माय साइड.
तभी आप जीत रहे थे.
So I wanted to come back to India and be part of government, right? And said कुछ करते हैं. The election before AP was here, I went out seeking independence, right? To see whom could I work with, because ideologies of both the Congress and the BJP at the time didn't, appeal to me. So I said, "कोई independence ढूंढते हैं." And so I spoke to Captain Gopinath, and there was Veera Sanyal in Bombay, South Bombay, because I come from Bombay, so I thought I can go there and spend. I spoke to my partner, my wife, and said, 2 महीने चाहिए, मैं जाके एकत्र करूँगा, and that was all. So that was my first tryst. But with the AP, I got really deeply involved, right? And I'd gone for a local meeting, through some news I heard, and I sat through some of the local committee meetings, and I said, okay, these guys seem to be decent, interesting, and hence got involved. But they were so young at the time that they did need a lot of people. So so very quickly I started contributing more than just the tactical piece, right? And started spending time a little more on that. So I was running Bala's campaign along with a few others. In all the seats we lost our deposits. यार entrepreneur को तो आदत है आईडी ट्राई करके हारने की, but it was a great experience, great. It also taught me the difference between independents, newcomers, and the incumbents, right? In not in anything else, but just in organizational efficiency. They are just outstanding, right? So I think what Congress was from grassroots was outstanding organization that they'd built. BJP's done a fantastic job today.
Yeah.
So, politics is a lot about administrative doing that. We of course see the negative sides of it, but the underlying ethos is very similar to building a business.
Yeah.
These organizations are not built in a few days or few weeks.
Yes.
You need years, and we forget that Kejriwal had worked in Delhi. He knew that while he was working in the government, he was in Delhi. While he was working in a non-profit, he was in Delhi. So there was deep knowledge coming in, and that showed that, hey, this is the time to strike and get right. So I think, again, insights gathered over a period of time. He said, ये product करना है, timing right है, करते हैं, right? And I think he did a great job in Delhi. For whatever people talk about him today in negative light, I don't have enough information. I'm far from it, but the execution on Mohalla clinics as well as the schools have been pretty good.
So obviously, I mean, you've been doing this for so many years, and when you see a lot of great funding stories happening in India, D2C में मतलब आए दिन वो series वगैरह चल ही रहा है, right? So what's your take on the market size expansion? I mean, has it really expanded, or are we selling to the same audience again and again?
Yeah, I think what's really expanded is, so I'll connect the dots, but allow me. There's one fundamental rule which is not changed, which is that the rich will always get richer. Okay, A. Now, the rich worldwide have got significantly richer, especially post-COVID. The rich worldwide includes endowment funds, wealthy individuals, and hence the money available, the money available for funds, for early stage risk investment has also grown up, right? So I've got one part of the theory, and in India you look at it, the number of people, family offices which are more than 1,000 crores have just shot up. Or paisa kahan lagayenge, right? Besides stock market, some part of it is going through AIFs into the local early stage or non-listed market. So that's what's happened. The second part, yes, I think India is moving up slightly, but that's not as much as the amount of money that is the supply that's coming. So I think it's more supply driven than demand driven, because the India growth rate on an average is at 5%, and that average completely does not talk about this big skewing. We've got massive inequality happening in any case, right? So, and that's the nature as that we see the game will play out in India. The rich will get richer, but as the middle class moves up even a slight inch towards upper middle class, I'm talking about middle class means if you're making 20,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees, if you move to 35,000 rupees, right, your disposable income available at a country level is massive, right? And that's what we see change quite a bit. So I think the market is growing, but is this market growing as fast as, does it justify the kind of investments that we are seeing in early stage? No, I don't think so. So, and to your first question on how does it make me feel when I see these big numbers coming, वो तो यार हम कहते हैं कि आज इतनी नहीं महकाने में जितना छोड़ दिया करते थे पैमाने में और वो हम कब से देख रहे हैं, क्योंकि I remember there was a company called 70mm. I don't know if they, we were refused funding, we were profitable, EBITDA positive, everything, and I remember my partner Lalna telling me that how come we are not able to raise funding? And she almost, because I was supposed to look at that and कि बस क्या गलत कर रहा है. These guys have just raised some 35 million or some कुछ तो किया था और हमें 3 million नहीं मिलता. मतलब कुछ तो गलत हो गया यार मनीष तेरे पिच में, right? वो इशारों से उसने कह दिया. But so I think this thing we've used to, and this will happen. This kind of discrimination, herd mentality is the nature of the game, right? I think we'll have to live with it. The problem with the entrepreneur is that he doesn't know whether that's also signaling that there is no market there. I think so. Every time there's no funding happening in a certain market, we got to just genuinely look, is there a genuine market there?
Yes.
Because, or are you playing under the radar? And that's good. Like, for example, I think in print there's a massive market. We're playing under the radar. And because of our Sequoia incident, nobody wants to touch a printing company. आप printing company शुरू करोगे, उसमें पैसा कोई डालेगा ही नहीं. देखो Printo के साथ क्या हुआ, right? So I think that has saved me. So I should thank Sequoia if they ever listen to this. Thank you very much.
They will.
Yeah. and of course the earlier partners it was Westbridge was the real Sequoia earlier, right?
Yeah.
And now they've gone back to being Westbridge. Yeah.
Cool. So that's pretty much, Manish. Great to have this conversation.
Yep.
Thanks for your time.
Hey, thanks, man. Super meeting you.
Yep.
Right? Great.
All right. That's pretty much about it. I hope you liked and enjoyed the show and you had some meaningful takeaways. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel, and do share it with your friends and colleagues. They work with a lot of early to mid-stage startups and help them scale their marketing using video and other formats. So do check them out.